Welcome to the ultimate autumn book video. Join me as I go book shopping for autumnal stories, create a perfect autumn TBR, and indulge in all sorts of cozy activities. Hello! Welcome everyone, my name is Leonie. I just got out of the shower. I am ready to get ready and kind of autumnify myself, find a cute little autumn fit, and then we're gonna go book shopping because I need to find some books that I really want to read this autumn. Let me show you what I'm currently reading. Maybe I make myself look pretty first. No. We don't need to always look pretty. The book that I'm currently reading is not super autumn vibes. It's just really big and I've been kind of stuck on it for a while. It is The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is like a 600+ page huge epic fantasy book where it's mostly the magic system that really caught my eye. It's a fantasy world that is kind of inspired by ancient Rome, and the idea is that magic is will, so kind of like willpower that elite people seed from the people below them. So there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people kind of at the bottom of the pyramid, and then they kind of give their willpower to the people above them. And the higher you are in the pyramid, the more people you receive this willpower from, which makes you more powerful, richer, like higher up in the hierarchy. So it's very much about the injustice of hierarchies and class systems, and I love that. But it's been a long time since I read, you know, one of these epic fantasy books where you really have to like get into the magic system and get into the world building, and I'm noticing I'm like not in the headspace for that right now. I've not really been able to get into this, even though it is objectively so well done and so well written. I'm in the mood for something a little bit lighter, so I'm hoping to find like maybe a fun little light witchy book to read for fall. Maybe some horror. I want to get into some horror. For me, the plan for today is to just go to a bookstore and just kind of look around at what they have. So let's get me an outfit, do my makeup, and then go book shopping. The jumper is just for comfort, but I really like these kind of olive plaid pants that I have going on, so just want to find something for up top. This really fun new jumper that I would like to try out, specifically because of the embroidery on it. And then with the earthy theme, I have a brown little camisole. I think that would look nice. Look at that. Oh. But before I go to a bookstore, maybe a good idea to take a look at what I already own and, you know, read the books that I already have. Very annoying concept, I know. And I'm gonna be honest, I really do feel like I currently just don't really have a lot of very autumnal books on my shelf. Okay, Bit of a stretch to call this a shelf. I don't have any bookshelves yet. In case you don't know, I just moved like 2 months ago. And so this is the situation. I also don't have all my unread books together. So this is just all of my books jumbled together. So I find it hard to find the books that I haven't read yet. Just gonna take a look if there's anything autumnal here. I feel like I don't, because every time that I see a book in a bookstore that has a kind of autumnal or spooky feel to it, I think to myself, no, I'm not gonna buy that yet. I'll buy that in autumn so I can read it then. This one, I got this for my birthday. This is very much dark academia. It is called In These Hallowed Halls, which is a anthology of kind of dark academia short stories with big names like Olivia Blake from the Atlas Six, M.L. Rio from If We Were Villains, Susie Yang, David Bell, and J.T. Ellison. I'm not really in the mood for a short story, and I also need to organize my books sometime. Anyway, speaking of organizing books, I have found the perfect new way to track all the books that I've read. So for the longest time, I've used Goodreads, but I honestly kind of stopped using Goodreads because I find that the website just doesn't work very well. I can't give half-star ratings, and I'm also just not a fan of the fact that it's Amazon owned. If you've been looking for another community-based app where you can track your reading, you're gonna love the sponsor of today's video, which is Fable. I'm gonna show you all the cool reading stats that they gave me later, but a good thing to know about Fable is that you can super easily import your Goodreads logging data into the Fable app. So you don't lose any of your old Goodreads data, and you can just start using Fable as your new reading tracker. And now when I go to my profile, it shows me all of my personalized reading stats based on my past reading experience. Apparently, I just really like dark and romance stories, which does track, and I'm also super behind on my reading goal this year. Oops. In Fable, you can review books using half stars. There are daily reading streaks to keep you motivated, monthly reading wrap-ups to show you what you've read each month, and there's also tons of book clubs on Fable so you can find your community and you can follow your friends. Fable rolls out new updates every single week, so you can always expect improvements, new features, and a modern interface. I'm having a lot of fun tracking my reading on Fable, mostly because I just love looking at the little statistics and the little graphs. You can also download the Fable app using the link in my description. The app is completely free, and it is super easy to import your Goodreads data or your Kindle data, so you can also start tracking your reading using the Fable app. And thank you, Fable, for sponsoring this video. Okay, now let's go to a bookstore and get some new fall books. What I love about these shoes is that they make such a satisfying clicky clacky sound. morning. It's really cold. It's starting to get truly cold, so I'm sitting underneath the blanket. I feel like I'm serving hobbits today. My little hobbit look, love that. Let me show you the books that I bought. Honestly, I didn't really find a lot of books that I was hoping to find in a bookstore. Couldn't find them. We'll get to those. I'll also show you like the little TBR that I made for autumn. But I bought one book, and that is another T. Kingfisher book because I really want to read more of T. Kingfisher. Last year I read Nettle and Bone, and I know that she writes just these amazing kind of like dark-ish fairy tales that I just love reading in the autumn time. I have here Thorn Hedge. This is a really short book. It's a novella. It's been a while since I read a novella, and this is kind of a retelling of Rapunzel, I think. It is about a princess in a tower, and she goes on this quest together with a knight, and there are fairies, and knowing T. Kingfisher, it's just going to be a slightly dark but also very quirky version of the fairy tale. So I will read this and let you know what I think of it. And then there was one other book that I'm really excited about because it's just a little cozy autumnal romancy book that I'm really feeling right now, but I couldn't find an actual copy of it. But I found out that the audiobook is on Storytel, which is the audiobook app that I use. It is called Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. To be honest, I don't even really know what it's about other than Leora from Leora Eileen loved it and said that this was like the first time in a very long time that she was just like really genuinely loving these kind of like cozy books. It's described as a cozy autumnal fantasy. The main character is called Belladonna Blackthorn, which I just love names like that. And it is about this 30-year-old witch that is kind of trying to get her powers back, it seems. And she also works at a bookstore. It kind of has Gilmore Girls vibes. I think I'm really going to enjoy this, so I think I will listen to the audiobook then, since I couldn't find the physical copy anywhere. What can I do while listening to the audiobook? I guess I'll do laundry. Let me just show you the other books that I was pretty excited about to read this fall. I'm sitting behind my desk right now. I'm just gonna share my screen to show you a little list that I made for myself for books that I want to read in autumn. Here, let's take a look at the wish list of books, full of books that I kind of have my eye out on. So like I said, Rewitched. Monstrilio is a horror novel, and I really want to get into horror more this autumn, but it's also kind of literary fiction. I actually don't know what it's about. Again, it's just that I saw someone raving about it. I will look that up for you. This is a literary horror about a boy who transforms into a monster, and I love themes of turning into a monster or having a monster inside of you. What Moves the Dead is another more horror-y novel by T. Kingfisher. If the book has any of the vibes of the cover, I'm gonna love it. Carmilla is a classic that I would love to read. It is like one of the first vampire novels. If I'm correct, Dracula has been inspired by Carmilla. And speaking of vampires, Interview with a Vampire. I always thought this was just kind of like a campy vampire novel, but from what I've heard, it genuinely dives pretty deeply into the questions of what it means to be human and humanity. So loving that. House of Hollow is a classic young adult gothic mansion novel that I'm sure I will enjoy. And then we have Our Shared Night, another kind of horror-y book by Mariana Enriquez about a father and a son and a cult, like this very creepy cult stories. As you guys know, I love stories about evil cults. So these are books that are also kind of on my radar right now. You know what? I'm just gonna make some lunch and then read a little bit in Thorn Hedge. Guys, you have unlocked a new angle. This is my bedroom, my pillows, little vanity, sword, very important. I am about halfway into Thornhedge. I kind of expected to like read this in one go and just be completely swept away by it, but I guess that's just kind of the thing with T. Kingfisher's books, is that they never really do that. You just read them and you're like, this is really good, you know? This is really well written. It's a really wholesome, quirky story about Toadling, who lives among the brambles that surround like Rapunzel's tower, and then she meets the knight or prince or knight that's trying to save the princess from the tower, and they kind of try to help each other out. And the story is mostly just that you're getting to know Toadling and you're getting to know the knight, and you're kind of figuring out the mystery of how Toadling ended up living between these brambles. Also, important side note, she can turn into a toad. You know, I've read a lot of books, but I've never read a book with the main character that can turn into a toad. And honestly, I kind of love that. She's a were-toad. Doesn't have the same ring to it as werewolf, I think. So it is really good and very well written and very autumnal, but I'm just not really sucked into it yet, which is why I still only have read like 60 pages of this. And then I also started listening to Rewitched, and you know, the thing with these like really cozy witchy books is that they all kind of almost end up blending together, and so you really notice it when you're reading one that's really good. And this one is one of those where from the first chapter I immediately noticed this one is good. You can just tell by the way it's written. There's just a kind of vividness to it, the originality of the details. It's just living beyond just the stereotypical witchy small town story, even though it is technically a stereotypical witchy small town story. You know, the characters are just more than stereotypes. They're really jumping off the page. So I am excited to keep listening to this. I will be honest, again, just like with Thornhedge, I'm not very far into it yet. Maybe I'm just not really in an audiobook mood. Maybe I just need to do laundry more often. Probably the second one. But you know what? At the beginning of this vlog, I said that I was reading The Will of the Many, and I kind of also want to continue reading that one. So I haven't finished a book since August. I'm not kidding when I say that. And I feel like me currently reading 3 books at the same time and just constantly switching between them and not finishing a single one of them is not helping. I can't really get into any book. I'm just in a bit of a reading slump, which sucks because autumn is like the time that I want to read all of those autumnal, cozy, spooky stories and really get a lot of reading done. But yeah, I'm reading 3 books at the same time and none of them are apparently capturing my attention enough that I can finish them. I am a professional pizza maker. Pizza maker. Dat was zo dichtbij. Are you? Are you gonna put it on?
And this is why. Oh!
Don't underestimate me.
I would never, queen. It is blood.
Oh, very Halloween autumn vibes.
Heb je
mozzarella. Ja. Kunnen we little ghosts? We can do little. Heb je dat gezien? You can like cut little ghosts out of the mozzarella and it will melt and it will become little ghosts. En dan moeten we iets van sesamzaadjes of zo as the little eyes.
Ja!
Yes!
Keukenprinses! Wee! Wee!
Got the ghost.
They're so cute.
That does not look like a ghost. That's adorable! No! There he goes. So cute. The ghosts have become very sad. Oh my god.
No, I love them.
Melted together.
Oh, they're so cute. Look, they're friends.
Just like us.
This one is very sad.
He's like, oh. This is echt een buikje.
This one is my favorite. Oh, I love
This is
them.
the best thing ever.
We make them a little nervous. Let's face it, Jet. We Owens women have always created a power that has been passed on to you children. She had the gift of magic.
Alright, I think I may finally beat the reading slump, but it wasn't through reading my fall books. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the book that is really like grabbing my attention at the moment is The Will of the Many. I took off the dust jacket. Here we are, The Will of the Many. Definitely not a fall book at all, but this just... Ooh, it's finally getting to me. The first 200 pages, honestly, super hard to get into. Didn't really see where the plot was going at all. There's just, you know, the typical thing where you start reading an epic fantasy book where you're just constantly a little bit confused. But after 200 pages, mysteries were introduced, big plot twists were happening. I kind of finally got to see a little bit, oh, I think this is where the story is going. The main character goes to this, like, not a magical academy, but like a military type academy. And I love academy storylines. And now I'm hooked and I'm reading like 100 pages a day in this. So that's amazing. I'm in the reading mood again. But I think what I've noticed is that maybe I put a little bit too much unnecessary pressure on reading autumn books in autumn. Autumn is my favorite season, right? And I love kind of dark and spooky books, so I always feel like, okay, it's autumn, so this is the time that I can pull out all of the dark stories, the spooky stories, the witchy stories. But you know what? Sometimes that's just not what you want to read at that moment. And I'm reading this book, which is not autumnal at all. And I tried reading Rewitched, and I tried reading Thornhedge, and I think they're genuinely good books. They're just not what I'm in the mood for right now. And that's fine, and I'll finish them another time. But first I'm just gonna be finishing my big old chunky nice big epic fantasy book. Yeah, little tip if you're in a reading slump, maybe you're just forcing yourself to read books that you're not really in the mood for right now. And I always am a mood reader, but for some reason it is only during fall that I try to like push that aside and tell myself like, oh, this is the time I need to read all the fall books. Maybe this year I don't do that. Maybe this year I don't do that. Loving a little tassel bookmark action. The other book that has gotten me out of my reading slump and got me like just wanting to read this constantly is buddy reading a little book with a friend. This is, honestly, the book doesn't really matter here. It's a book called Women and Freedom, and it's like a short feminist non-fiction book that a friend of me who's also really into feminist books started reading, and she was like, this is really bad. Do you want to like read it together and criticize it together? So she made notes on the first chapter of all the things she disagreed with and then gave it to me. And now I'm reading that chapter with her notes, adding my own, and then reading another chapter and also adding my notes to that and then giving it back to her. And I'm having so much fun with this because it's like a communal activity. So highly recommend doing a buddy read, not in the normal sense where you both read the same book at the same time. I mean literally reading the same copy as your friend and making notes in the book together. But I constantly want to read it, not because the book is good, I don't think it's very good, but because I want to like put in my notes and see my friend's notes in it. So another great tip if you're in a reading slump. Do a little buddy read. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna spend the next of my days just continuing to tackle The Will of the Betty. That's the great thing about 600-page books. Even when you're already on page 300, 360, you still have like half of the book to go. Amazing. This book is, I don't ever want this book to end. I'm having so much fun with it. Anyway, I do still hope that you really enjoyed kind of the cozy autumnal vibe in this video. Just wanted to make something comforting and calm. I want to end this video with a thank you to all of my patrons, with a special thank you to all of my elite Patreon members whose names that you can see here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you soon in another video very soon. Goodbye!